Over the years, Quentin Tarantino revealed countless projects that didn't see the light of day. Right now, he's on his 9th project, with the next being the 10th and final of his career. So, what if he revives one of his shelved ideas? There's an R-rated Star Trek movie, Kill Bill 3, and even a potential horror film. So today, we're counting down 5 Tarantino projects that we think should be his final hurrah. Starting with number 5, an R-rated Star Trek movie. Here's a fun fact, there's already a script for a potential R-rated Star Trek movie, and it was written by Mark L. Smith, the same guy who wrote The Revenant. Quentin revealed that he plans on going back to the script and ironing out a few key details to make it a more streamlined screenplay. But that's where our excitement ends, because even if he works on the script, it doesn't mean that it'll get made. Now this brings us to the whole 10-movie conundrum. People have wondered whether the 10-film plan refers only to original projects, with stuff like Star Trek falling into a potential loophole to continue directing franchisee movies. But in an interview with Cinema Blend, the director debunked the theory. He explained that if he did write and direct a Star Trek movie, he'd commit to it, and it'd be his last one. No loophole, no two ways about it. But right now, the idea of an R-rated Star Trek movie seems far-fetched, so it's probably not gonna be his final movie. At number 4, Double V Vega. When we watched Pulp Fiction, we felt like there was a lot more to Vincent and Jules than the movie told us. It was obvious from dialogue that they've been in the business for a long time, and it would have been awesome to see Vincent's previous exploits in a prequel movie. Tarantino was interested in the idea too, and told Cinema Blend that the story would follow Vincent when he was running a club for Marcellus Wallace in Amsterdam. He would have been there for a few years, and at some point, Vic Vega, the guy Michael Madsen plays in Reservoir Dogs, would show up to meet him. Now, the idea of a Reservoir Dogs and Pulp Fiction crossover seems like an amazing idea, especially for the director's 10th feature. It'd go back to his breakout in Hollywood and pay homage to everything he did in the 90s. But a prequel seems far-fetched now that John Travolta and Michael Madsen are in their late 60s. So let's move on. Up next at number 3 is Kill Bill Volume 3. Whether we get a third part to the Bride story is up for debate, but Quentin has talked about what a potential Beatrix Kiddo threequel could be. The story would follow her being hunted by Vernita Green's daughter. You know, the woman Kiddo stabbed with a knife in her own kitchen while her daughter comes home from school? It's an obvious setup, and the director has had frequent discussions about it with Uma Thurman over the years. Even back in 2019, he revealed on MTV that if any of his past movies returned to the big screen, it'd be a third Kill Bill. But in a recent SiriusXM podcast, Thurman said that Volume 3 is not on the horizon, at least anytime soon. So even though every Tarantino fan wants this to happen, it won't happen anytime in the near future. Coming in at number 2, a potential Tarantino horror movie. Many people agreed that the Spahn Ranch sequence in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood was as close to a horror experience that Tarantino has ever done. And that's why the director hasn't ruled out a proper horror film as his 10th and final feature. In fact, when he was on a press tour for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, he revealed that if he came up with a terrific horror story and screenplay, it'd be his final film. The guy adores horror films, especially from Hollywood's golden age. We don't know about you, but a horror film featuring the dead characters from all his previous movies wreaking havoc on a little town would be awesome. But again, that's just our idea for it. What do you think his horror film should be? Finally, at number 1, an original epilogue-y film to end his directing career. So let's leave Star Trek, prequels, and sequels off the table. In our opinion, Tarantino will most likely create an original story for his final movie, given that he loves coming up with interesting characters that are messed up in their own unique ways. In a press conference in Moscow, the director imagined all of his movies telling one giant story, and that each movie was like a train boxcar connected to another. The final film would be an epic show-stopping climax to all of it, being the perfect Tarantino-esque goodbye to Hollywood. And forget Star Trek, an original Tarantino story seems like the best way to go out with a bang, especially if it's a full-blown horror movie. Now, if one of these projects works out, who could star in it? The first name that comes to mind is obviously Samuel L. Jackson. If there was a bet over which actor has collaborated with the director the most number of times, you'd be stupid not to pick him. And then of course there's Michael Madsen, Tim Roth, and of course Kurt Russell. But there's another actor who's been in way more Tarantino films than even the legendary Sam Jackson. Unbelievable, right? But it's true, there's been one person who's been in more Tarantino films than any other actor. If Tarantino picks a project for his 10th and final run, then the following 5 actors actors are highly likely to be in it, especially considering that it'll be his final directorial effort in Hollywood. And we're not even talking about Madsen, Roth, or Russell. So with that out of the way, let's see which actor has been in the most number of Tarantino films and is the most likely person to be in his final hurrah. First up is Michael Madsen with 4 movies. Madsen hasn't found a lot of attention outside Quentin's movies, but that doesn't mean he doesn't have what it takes to be a great actor. One of our favorite characters in Reservoir Dogs was Mr. Blonde, or Vic, and we loved him specifically because of Madsen's performance. The way he casually danced and vibed to Stuck in the Middle with You while torturing Marvin Nash was legendary, and one of the most iconic moments of the 90s. He's also appeared in both Kill Bill movies, which Tarantino considers one film, The Hateful Eight, and finally, in a cameo role as Sheriff Hackett in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. So if Tarantino decides on bringing him back for his 10th and final movie, it'd be a great way to end their collaboration throughout his directing career. Up next, Tim Roth with 4 movies and 1 deleted scene. In our opinion, Roth is tied with Madsen on the number of movies, but a deleted scene from Once Upon a Time in Hollywood gives him a bit of an edge. Quentin was really impressed with the English actor after watching 1982's Made in Britain, where he played a vicious skinhead. So in 1992, he was cast as Mr. Orange in Reservoir Dogs, starting a lifelong collaboration with the director. His next role was in Pulp Fiction before making an appearance as Ted the Bellhop in 4 Rooms. Now, 4 Rooms isn't technically a Tarantino feature, but the director still wrote and directed the Penthouse segment, so we're counting that as a collaboration between the actor and director. And then, after 20 years, Roth starred as Oswaldo Mowbray in The Hateful Eight, and so far that's his 4th and latest collaboration with the director. The deleted scene we talked about was technically still a collaboration between the two, and we would have loved to see that in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Like Madsen, it seems like a no-brainer to cast Roth in his final film. Now for Zoe Bell with 4 movies and 4 stunt credits. If you're a casual Tarantino fan, you probably haven't heard of Zoe Bell, and that's okay. The Australian actress and stuntwoman has mostly done small roles and stunt work throughout her career, but die-hard Tarantino fans will always remember her as the tracker in Django Unchained. She first worked with the director on both Kill Bill movies, serving as Thurman's stunt double, and collaborated with him on 3 other movies for major stunt scenes: Death Proof, Inglourious Basterds, and Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. And since he was really impressed with her work ethic, he gave her cameos and small acting roles in Death Proof, Django Unchained, The Hateful Eight, and finally Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, making it one of the director's most prolific collaborations. In second place is surprisingly Samuel L. Jackson. Sam Jackson and Tarantino are one of Hollywood's greatest actor-director collaborations, much like Tom Cruise and Christopher McQuarrie. To this day, the actor has appeared in 6 Tarantino features and 1 Tony Scott movie that was written by Quentin himself. For a lot of people, the Tony Scott movie True Romance isn't a true collaboration, but we beg to differ. One of the reasons why it's such a great movie is because of Tarantino's talent as a writer. So the actor-director pair still works in it, but the true collaborations are worth a video on their own. Oh, and did you know he was in Kill Bill 2? Not a lot of folks remember him in it, but he played a cameo role as Rufus, one of the 8 who were killed in the Two Pines Massacre. Other than that, he's appeared in Pulp Fiction, Jackie Brown, Inglourious Basterds, Django Unchained, and of course, The Hateful Eight. He is arguably Tarantino's best collaborator, and a final movie with him would be the perfect send-off for their relationship. Finally, the actor who has appeared in the most Tarantino films. In a final twist, here's the actor who's appeared in almost every single movie written and or directed by Quentin Tarantino. It's Quentin Tarantino himself. Yes, he's technically never trained as an actor, and his acting chops aren't all that great when he's paired with some of the best in the business. But the fact is, he's made appearances in almost every movie he's ever made, including some that he's helped co-write. From Dusk Till Dawn, Jackie Brown, Pulp Fiction, Death Proof, Inglourious Basterds, you name it, he's been in it. And obviously, having a supporting role in his own final movie would be the best way to holster his directorial guns. And that's a wrap, folks. Thanks for watching. So which potential Tarantino project do you wish saw the light of day? Tell us down below. And as always, be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more videos just like this. See you in the next one.